Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Napper here bringing you some StarMade dev build update news. This is a big one guys, so buckle up. We may be here for 20 or so minutes covering all the features of the latest dev build 0.178. So you may have already heard about this, no doubt. You may have already seen it, but for those that haven't, I am bringing you the news and the update to you right now, right here, because it's a big one, it's a doozy, and it is amazing. So, let's get into it. First of all, before I get into the big important stuff, I would just like to mention that there appears to be a graphical update concerning things like bloom and stars. I do not know if this was in any of the previous updates, I may have missed it, but it looks like stars have a really nice bloom effect now, and that star actually appears quite big. I do think that if I'm going to suggest any one thing during this episode, that the stars should be toned down a little bit. They're quite large. No matter where you are in the star system, they appear quite big on your screen. So I would like to say to the devs, I do think that could be toned down a bit. But other than that, this dev build is amazing, and I will show you why. So this particular build revolves around the structuring of the universe, the magnitudes of all of the new structuring that has been implemented. So we are all familiar with sectors. We are all familiar with star systems. However, on top of that, we have a new level of space tier, I guess you could say, in the form of galaxies. And galaxies are massive, and we will see just how massive in a moment. But let's start off small. Let's start off with sectors. Now, from what Calberry has stated, sector size is going to be bumped up to 5 kilometers across. 5 cubic kilometers for each sector. It is currently 1 cubic kilometer, and I have to say, personally, I think that is agreeable with. I currently have my server speed limit set to 200 kilometers an hour, and that is less than 3 times the default speed limit, and the sector size is also 5 kilometers, so that's 5 times the amount of space. And I think that's okay. I think that's reasonable. It works for me. It should work for everyone. So, that is reasonable to me, and I think you guys, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, so leave feedback down below about what you think about this episode, because there's a lot of stuff to cover, and it will definitely help the devs if, people start talking about what they think works and what doesn't. So I think that personally works because, along with all the new jump changes and stuff, setting up a slightly higher server speed limit shouldn't be too bad of an idea either. And it should work out in most people's favor. So, we have that. What else? Oh, and sectors. Sectors are obvious. We all know what sectors do. Sectors supply us with things like asteroids, planets, and stations. Now, what are star systems? Obviously, star systems are 16 by 16 by 16 sectors, right? A cubic area of sectors that comprise an entire star system. And we can see that by pressing the map with P. Pressing P to open the map, I should say. And here you can see, oh god, I'm moving all over the place. Here we can see a star system, right? This is the structuring of the current star systems. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And you can see that there are all these rings with orbitals, right? All these orbitals, rings, whatever you want to call them, and some highlighted sectors that follow the path of the ring. So what does this mean? Essentially, the restructuring of the star system starts with adding things like orbits. Along these orbits, you may find asteroids or planets. Space stations are probably going to be a little bit more random. As you can see, space stations do not follow the orbits, and it doesn't make sense that they have to, although technically a space station will still be orbiting a star. Otherwise, it would just fall into it. So technically, space stations should be orbiting. I'm not going to say that they should, because that's a game design decision. And it could subtract from what is already orbiting the star. I would like to mention that these objects are not actually orbiting. That is just their paths, where you could find these objects. If you don't know where a planet is, search along one of these highlighted sectors, and you will eventually find one. So essentially, that's the whole idea. And actually, there is a planet. If I move over here, there is a planet right there. So I'm assuming that's supposed to be one of these green sectors. It's pretty close to the star, which it's kind of hard to make out, but there's a star right there. There's a star shape. being displayed there. So, if I back out a little bit, you'll see that there are quite a number of stars here. In fact, there are probably thousands of stars on screen right now. All of them I can visit. This is a galaxy, and it's quite obvious that this is a galaxy, and it is nuts. Now, this is the new map screen, and it is actually working relatively well. I didn't think it would, considering how cluttered it can get, but the only thing you'll currently see on the screen is the star system that you have currently selected, including all of its features, which you can zoom right up to. And you can see all the star systems. However, all of their star system features are hidden, aside from the actual star itself. You can also see that there are various colored stars, as well as black circles with purple lines, and I will explain what those are in a minute, although you may figure it out by how obvious it may be. But I will talk about those in a moment. So, this is the new galaxy setup, and as you can see, it's a lot denser in the middle than it is out towards the edge. You know, there's approximately 10 layers or so of galaxy right here, stacked on top of itself in the middle, and towards the edge, we have some fewer layers, you know, 2 layers, 3 layers, maybe 5 layers at the most, along the outer rings, and you can see that over here. I'm like moving along the edge so that you guys can see that. And as you know, go farther away from the center of the star system, it thins out a little bit. There's not as many stars, and actually, if you double click on a star, it will bring you to that star system. So let me zoom in. You can see that there's less stars. There's even a few gaps, you know? There's a few places where a star could be, but is not. And that's because, of course, it thins out as you get farther away from the core of a star, a galaxy itself. This is my third time trying to record this, so I apologize if my sentences are see, look, I did it again. Are deteriorating at a rapid rate. So, what are these two glowing boxes? These boxes right here are highlighted, these star systems I should say are highlighted, and what's that all about? That's because I claimed them. These are star systems that are owned by my faction. Now, I'm just going to assume this. I'm going to assume that factions of a different factions I should say, should be highlighted different colors. Factions you're at war with may be highlighted red. I have no idea. I have not tested this with multiple factions. There is no way to really figure it out yet, or see it unless you know, all jump on the same dev server and make your own faction. We can test this out potentially in the future, and I'll show you what happens when that happens. But right now, these two star systems I have claimed with the faction module. And there it is. It shows up on the map. I zoom out and I can see all my territory. It's very simple, very easy to get the grasp of. So now that we've covered that, let's go and explore some of this stuff. So I am moving around with the directional keys, W, A, S, D, Q, and E, based on your orientation, and I'm just going to explain this if you haven't used this already. If I press W, it will always move me forward. If I press D, it would always move me right. So if I face this way, if I press W, I move forward, and if I press D, it will again move me right. So it's based around the way you're facing. You will always move forward, kind of like if you were walking around, just in a more cubular way, I guess you could say. Right? I'm pressing forward, and as I change the way I'm facing, it will move me towards that direction. Right? This is all information that you can see down here. Use your move keys to move. Hold shift to move a system instead of a sector. So if I hold shift, I can jump between star systems instead of star sectors, which allows for much faster movement along this map, right? Hold right mouse button to rotate and use mouse wheel to zoom. And that's pretty obvious. And that again is pretty obvious. The last bit of information is it tells you the system that you are currently looking at and who owns it. And it will also tell you the system that you are currently in and who owns it. So my own position is owned by New Eden Fleetworks, and the selected system is owned by New Eden Fleetworks. That is my faction. If I jump out of that faction, you can see that down here it has changed to say nothing. If I move back over, it will say owner, New Eden Fleetworks. So you get to see who owns star systems. And that is really great, because it actually allows you to map out a galaxy and the territory that players control, which is just amazing. I think it's great. Another thing you can do is click center on own position, and it will bring you back to your location in the sector that you are in. The current sector is highlighted via the little cube. The sector that you're in is blinking yellow. Plot to current path. So right now I have a waypoint set to that sector, although I just kind of teleported. What sector is this? This is sector 2 to -20, and that is the currently plotted position. Let's set a waypoint to somewhere up here. Empty space, there's nothing up here. Plot path current. Now I have a waypoint set to a star sector way up here. Crazy, right? You can set waypoints from in the map now. Frickin' phenomenal. I love it. It's great. If you set a waypoint out of the map, it will show you the direct route to that system in the map, which is just amazing. Another thing real quick, similar to how we can see the sectors that are adjacent to the sector that we are in, we can see the star system that is adjacent to the currently selected star system that we are in when viewing the map. So this sector in front of me is 150, the one to my left is 051, or -1, and the one to my right is 051, which means the one that I'm in is 050. And if I look down here, it says that selected system default 050. So there you go. Let's see. Okay, we're just testing out a few things real quick. So I've pretty much explained the gist of all of that stuff. What else is there? There's binary stars, and let's see if we can find one of those real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because if I can't find one, then I have to move on. We will try. It should be noted that in real life there are more binary star systems than there are regular star systems, although because stars are pretty big and take up a lot of space, I'm not gonna, say that that's a bad decision on the developer's part, because, it makes sense that they wouldn't want binary star systems to be so common. Let's go out of our area real quick. Let's see if I can find one. Generally, they pop up as two individual stars once you get close to them on the map. Otherwise, they'll appear to be one star, and that kind of makes sense. Oh, I think I found one. Yep, that's it. There's two stars in this star system. Binary star system. So if I click admin warp on this, it will teleport me. That only works, of course, if you had admin rights. And look, two giant glowing death balls right in my face. Fantastic. If I turn off bloom, we should see this a little bit more clearer. There you have it. 2 stars. Look at that, guys. Also, and I don't know if I mentioned this, it appears that the entire galaxy can be viewed from the star system that you're in. You see these very bright white dots. And I actually think that those are all the stars that you can visit. And it kind of gives, a galactic, plane effect, which is really neat. I have no idea how effective this is, or if it's oriented properly, because right now it looks as if the galactic plane is actually vertical instead of horizontal. And yet when I view well, actually, maybe I am looking at it wrong. Who knows? So yeah, there's that. Also, real quick, let's test something else real quick, because I wanted to do this earlier. I'm going to travel over here. And I'm going to admin warp, right? We are, oh wow, look at that. That is crazy looking. Okay, so that's definitely the rest of the galaxy. Oh yeah, look, you can almost, it's very hard to see, but it's probably much easier for you guys at home playing with your own system. But if I look here, and I look this way, there's almost like an arm that I'm seeing made out of the brighter stars. Oh, and there's the star that I'm in. But, and it almost looks like there's stars going this way, and it kind of goes across, and it goes that way. And I'm pretty sure that if I was above this star system, I would see that spiral around and connect to a massive glob of stars that you can currently see over there. Wow, that is nuts. That is the galaxy. That white cluster of stars is the galaxy. You can kind of tell because it's made in a pattern. And that's because, everything's cubical, So what I wanted to do from this position was I wanted to And I'm gonna double click on a system over here. Let's go over here, actually. Let's go to that star system. So if I want to travel from where I currently am to this position, plot to current. I'm going to get out of this. That star system is 1,324 kilometers away. When the new default sector size is implemented, that will be over 5,000 kilometers away. That is awesome! That is pretty far in terms of StarMade. It may not be that far in terms of real life, you know, distances, but in terms of StarMade, that'll take quite a long time to travel across, especially at default speeds. So it will be imperative that you use gates, stargates. Now, when you use a stargate and you set up a stargate, and I have no idea... You know what? Oh god, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? You know what? I will do it at the end of the video. I'm going to set up a stargate and I'm going to connect the two of them and I'm going to see if it actually draws a line between them, because it should, similar to my waypoint, draw a line between stargates that are connected to each other. And that way you will actually be able to see the network of stargates in a system. Not only that, but because you have to place... well, actually you don't, but if you want a stargate to be faction controlled, then you will technically be... Well, actually, no. Technically, you won't even be doing that. Never mind. I'm just being stupid about things. I'm forgetting all sorts of stuff. You'll be able to... apparently, factions that own a Stargate will have that displayed on the map. So you'll be able to see who owns Stargates, but it will not tell you if... You know, you don't have to claim the star system in order for you to do that. So, one last thing. And let's do it big time over here. You see these black lines, and this all pertains to the whole Stargate stuff. These are black holes, and in the center of the black hole is a wormhole. So let's teleport to this location. And I have rotated my ship, and I'm actually not touching the keyboard right now, and you will see that I am accelerating. I am currently going 50-ish, 60, 70, and I have now passed server speed limit. And the reason I am doing that is because I am slowly approaching a black hole. Once you enter the star system where a black hole resides, not to mention the fact that this star system actually looks freaking hella awesome. Look at those colors. Wow. That's great. This black hole here is sucking me in. And not only that, you can see the other black hole that is adjacent to it. If I look at the map, you can see that there are two of these holes. One right next to the other. So I'm being sucked into this one, and I can see the next one that's right over there. And that's just nuts, because if I, currently I'm going at 160 kilometers per hour, which is more than twice my server speed limit. As soon as I move in any direction using the arrow, or the directional keys, it resets my server speed, but the black hole will actually accelerate me past server speed limits, which is kind of neat, and at the same time, not a cheap way of getting past server speed limits and drifting through space at a very fast rate, because if you want to turn, you're going to have to drop back down. So that's a pretty interesting little mechanic right there. I can rotate and look around still. That does not affect the speed. And once I go through this system, this wormhole, I should be teleported. I am currently in -13, 1, -13, -1, -29. And here we come. Space-time disruption detected. Time and space is warping. Oh my god. And wow, look at that. I'm in a very purple sector. If I look at the map, it has ejected me. Oh god. Where has it ejected me? It's throwing me across the entire arm of this galaxy. Not only that, but I am still currently moving, so you'll see me jump as I slowly descend into the wormhole again. As you can see, I just moved down a sector and over one now. But look at that. That is amazing. It works incredibly well. It's basically just a teleport, but it also throws you away from the wormhole so that you're not caught in an endless loop of jumping between the wormholes. Not only that, but wormholes will appear to be a little bit random because one wormhole can connect to multiple places and spew you out at multiple locations. So look at that. That's nuts. That is nuts. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the current build. Actually, Real quick, we can teleport to another star of a separate color. Oh god, I didn't actually teleport yet. Admin warp. Please warp me. Why are you not warping? Let's see if I can stop the ship. You can stop the ship somehow. I don't know how it works, but you can stop it. There, I have warped. Maybe it can only happen when you're not moving. So here I am. I have warped to a new star, and it is red. Look at that! Red stars, ladies and gents. Freaking amazing. There are multiple colored stars. They do not affect the lighting of your ship. But there it is without bloom. Let's turn bloom on. Look how massive that star looks. It's a little bit big. I'm not gonna lie, but it looks great. Looks freaking phenomenal. That's amazing. So, I think we've covered mostly everything. There is a few things that I would like to mention, well, mainly one. So we have wormholes, black holes, binary stars, galaxies, multicolored stars. The sizes of stars changes. If, for example, you see this much larger star right here, if I go into this sector, admin warp, and you can see that it's very dark because I'm at the edge of the star system. Looking at that star, it is super far away and it's massive on my screen. So that's a massive star. Stars will come in different sizes now, and I assume they will do damage to you at different distances, depending on how far you are from them. If I jump to this one right here, admin warp to this star, and we'll see a purplish blue star. Look at that! It's amazing! They have yellow stars. This is going to look absolutely great with the Fiery Balls of Fire mod. We jump back out, so we have all that, default sector size, and the last thing I wanted to mention was the station things that Schema will be doing with stations. So, I mentioned this in a previous video, my last video to be exact, about how I think stations should be worked, how you should go about buying a space station, and it turns out Schema has actually talked about it a little bit in a comment and mentioned that essentially what's going to happen is you're going to place down a space station, you're going to potentially buy it, or you're going to just place down the block and have a very small useless station. And of course it's just a block, and you will going to put the materials inside a chest connected to potentially a module or a block that is connected to it. The block is going to be associated. Now I have no idea if this is block oriented. It could just be a menu. Essentially the station that you put down is going to be associated with a station blueprint. Once you have accumulated all of the resources for constructing that space station, you can spawn it in. So basically you're going to be buying space stations with blocks. To me, that sounds perfect. I don't want it any other way. Space stations shouldn't be bought with anything except blocks, to be honest, because you have to build the space station, so that makes sense. So it's going to really, bring down on a purpose for things like freighters and actual transportation and logistics. Because imagine losing a space station. That must be devastating. So this massive star system is definitely something that we can totally benefit from in terms of acquiring resources and spreading them out. And it's just crazy. I cannot wait to mess with this stuff. It's just going to be so fun. It's going to be absolutely great. I would like to mention that there are, of course, more than one galaxy. Over here we can see a separate system for the wormholes of a separate galaxy. I would like to mention that you should probably not try jumping to a different galaxy at the moment in the dev build because it currently crashes your game, or at least it did for me. So be careful with what you do, and definitely send in the bug reports if you do get a crash. And we'll help make this game a little bit better. So I'm Chris the Nightbringer. I am just totally stoked for this update, and I pretty much covered everything that I needed to cover. So thanks for watching. If you want to see more of these update videos, subscribe. I'm here all the time posting content for StarMade, personal projects, and news videos as well, all the time. So subscribe for more. Leave your feedback down below, and I will see you all next time. First of all, before I get into the big important stuff, I would just like to mention that there appears to be a graphical update concerning things like bloom and stars. I do not know if this was in any of the previous updates. I may have missed it, but it looks like stars have a really nice bloom effect now, and that star actually appears quite big. I do think that if I'm going to suggest any one thing during this episode, that the stars should be toned down a little bit. They're quite large. No matter where you are in the star system, they appear quite big on your screen. So I would like to say to the devs, I do think that could be toned down a bit, but other than that, this dev build is amazing, and I will show you why. So, this particular build revolves around the structuring of the universe, the magnitudes of all of the new structuring that has been implemented. So we are all familiar with sectors. We are all familiar with star systems. However, on top of that, we have a new level of space tier. Less than 3 times the default speed limit, and the sector size is also 5 kilometers, so that's 5 times the amount of space. And I think that's okay. I think that's reasonable. It works for me. It should work for everyone. So, that is reasonable to me, and I think you guys, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, so leave feedback down below about what you think about this episode, because there's a lot of stuff to cover, and it will definitely help the devs if, people start talking about what they think works and what doesn't. So I think that personally works because, here, I guess you could say, in the form of galaxies, and galaxies are massive, and we will see just how massive in a moment. But let's start off small. Let's start off with sectors. Now, from what Calberi has stated, sector size is going to be bumped up to 5 kilometers across. 5 cubic kilometers for each sector. It is currently 1 cubic kilometer, and I have to say, personally, I think that is agreeable with. I currently have my server speed limit set to 200 kilometers an hour, and that is... Hello once again, YouTube. Chris the Napper here, bringing you some StarMade dev build update news. This is a big one, guys, so buckle up. We may be here for 20 or so minutes covering all the features of the latest dev build 0.178. So you may have already heard about this, no doubt. You may have already seen it, but for those that haven't, I am bringing you the news and the update to you right now, right here, because it's a big one, it's a doozy, and it is amazing. So, let's get into it.